Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to you and Chairman Langford for holding this hearing today and for this important work and for the subcommittee's report, which is, I think, eye-opening and also terrifying. I am perhaps more familiar with the comment and rulemaking procedure and the comment submission process than I might otherwise like to be, having formerly practiced in this area of law when I was in private practice. And it is troubling that the rulemaking process for federal agencies has become so inundated, as the report sets out, with profane, abusive, and just sometimes downright fraudulent commentary. And so I think today's hearing is very, very important. Mr. Bagdoyan, let me start with you and pick up on something that Senator Sinema was asking you just a second ago. In June of this year, your agency made recommendations to 8 other federal agencies about how they might improve their comment posting policies. As of today, as I understand it, only 1 of those 8 has actually implemented any of your recommendations, although I gather that all of them mostly agreed with the recommendations that the GAO issued. So can you tell me, is there any indication that the other agencies will follow GAO recommendations, and if so, when?
Sure. Thank you, Senator Hawley, for your question. I will mention that the Securities and Exchange Commission is the one agency that has taken action. They have provided us with sufficient recommendation implementing documentation for us to make a judgment that they've met that recommendation as intended. We have an extensive tracking process for how agencies implement our recommendations. It sometimes takes a number of years for them to get around to doing that. We measure progress on intervals as frequently as 6 months, where we work through our agency liaisons to get information on the latest status of how they will implement recommendations. We take them at their word that they did agree, and that was a sincere agreement, of course. And then we, as I said, use the formal follow-up process that we have. We track them electronically. We update them. I have to sign off on the status when it comes in. And then we employ old-fashioned pestering, actually, to get them to comply. So,
well, we'll be happy to join you in that pestering, so we'll continue to monitor the progress there. Thank you for the work that your agency has done on this. Ms. Boiselle, let me turn to you. The report that the subcommittee is discussing today was initiated after the FCC, as you know, received nearly 24 million comments in just one rulemaking proceeding back in 2017, which is just extraordinary. Let me just ask you, is it true that almost 8 million of those came from email addresses that were associated with, I think it's fakemailgenerator.com, is that right?
That is our understanding, yes.
Is it true that more than 500,000 of the comments, 500,000, were associated with Russian email addresses?
That is my understanding, yes.
Is it true that more than 2 million comments submitted to the proceedings used stolen identities?
I believe you're referring to a recent article, and that is my understanding based on those allegations.
Now, the subcommittee report notes that your agency has a general policy that it should, and I'm quoting now, accept and post online all comments it receives, including duplicates and near duplicates, and comments containing copyrighted, profane, and irrelevant material. And the report also notes that the FCC has accepted and posted files, some of which contain viruses, which of course are dangerous to the public, the general public. In your written testimony, you note that the FCC's electronic comment filing system has been designed to maximize participation by making the submission and posting of comments as easy and inclusive as possible. I wonder if you could just speak to some of the trade-offs you think that policy engenders and presents to us, given the threats and abuses that we're seeing.
Yes, thank you for that question, and I would be happy to address it. We have historically adopted a policy that errs on the side of openness and inclusiveness and accessibility out of a desire to afford members of the public the opportunity to meaningfully participate in our rulemakings. We believe that public input is of great value. We understand that values like openness must be balanced against other values, and sometimes those values are competing values, like security. We are presently evaluating the balance that we have historically struck and exploring how to recalibrate that balance to better address the issues that the subcommittee report identified.
Can you be a little more specific on that? I mean, what specifically, are you considering, what steps are you considering to ensure that you separate real feedback from fake, fraudulent, and sometimes in the case of viruses, downright threatening comments, posts, participation, quote unquote?
Sure. Well, so we have convened a cross-bureau working group at the FCC, and they have been tasked with overhauling ECFS to address the issues identified in the committee's report and covered in various media outlets. They are currently convening roundtables with external stakeholders to explore solutions to the various issues that have been identified, to ensure that we address them, but that the platform remains user-friendly. Some of those possibilities include CAPTCHA, like I mentioned during my oral testimony, identity authentication, optimizing our search functionality to enable people to screen out profane and offensive or threatening comments. So we are exploring a variety of options, and we are committed to ensuring, as I said, that the next generation of ECFS does strike a better balance between openness and security.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here.